Hello and welcome to another segment of Good to Know Family Law Topics. In this segment, I'm going to discuss one of the most difficult decisions a person has to make before he or she decides to get married. As many can attest, there are a lot of stress involved in planning to get married. After all, who's going to come to the wedding? Where's the wedding going to be? Who's going to pay for the wedding? Will there be a honeymoon? And after the wedding, where are the parties going to live and will they have children? Now, in spite of all of those difficult decisions, there's none more difficult than deciding whether or not to enter into a premarital agreement. In my practice, people come to me thinking that they need a premarital agreement, but they really don't know why. And that's why I'm going to start off by discussing what the purpose of a premarital agreement is. And what you should know is that there's two primary purposes. One is to memorialize what a person's separate property and assets are so that there's no confusion at all in the event of a divorce as to what the party owned going into the marriage. And the second reason is that one or both of the parties want to alter the rules as it pertains to the division of property and how much spousal support will be paid in the event of a divorce. The family code and appellate court decisions have tried to carve out rules that are fair for people when they divorce as it applies to spousal support in the division of property. But there are people that may think that that's not what they want, and they're free to change the rules through a premarital agreement. Now, the second thing that you should know is that not all premarital agreements are the same. In fact, premarital agreements tend to vary quite a bit from one to another. And that's because there's many provisions that could be included in a premarital agreement or excluded. For example, some people may want to alter the rules as it pertains to the payment of spousal support. Some premarital agreements waive spousal support, others may limit it. Others may not touch spousal support at all. And when it comes to the division of property, there's a lot of alterations that can be made to the rules. Some people believe that there shouldn't be any community property, while others want to change it with respect to when the community property is earned and how it applies to people's income. In addition, people sometimes want to alter the rules as it applies to reimbursement rights, which usually comes at the end of the divorce when we're carving up the property and determining who owes what. Now let me talk to you about why you may or may not want to sign a premarital agreement. Now, signing a premarital agreement is a highly personal decision that only you can make. No attorney or anybody else can really make the decision for you. So the best way for me to discuss this topic is by illustrating a couple of scenarios where people have decided whether they wanted to sign one or not. The first one is a hypothetical. It's a 60-year-old man. He's a widower. He's getting ready to retire, and he's got grown children. Now, this man may not want to have to pay spousal support for the rest of his life should the event that he and his second wife divorce. Likewise, he may want to leave something for his children and doesn't want to establish community property during the marriage. A second scenario is a young 20-something-year-old woman who has married a man who's a doctor. He's going to advance in his career, and she and he have an agreement that she's going to stay home and tend to children that they plan to have. In that case, she may not want to sign away her rights to receive community property or spousal support. Now let me conclude with 3 tips that will help you make a decision as to whether or not you need to sign a premarital agreement. The first is, don't think of your immediate needs. Instead, look at 20 years in the future and try to determine whether or not in 20 years you're going to need property rights or to receive support, or conversely, whether you're going to want to pay support or have community property established through your efforts. Don't think of the immediate needs because it's just not going to help you. The second is whether or not the existence of a premarital agreement is going to cause stress within your relationship. In my experience, I've seen cases where the existence of a premarital agreement was a constant thing to argue about during a long-term marriage. Sometimes it upsets the balance of power. And the third thing to remember is that signing a premarital agreement shouldn't be an all or nothing game. Remember that if you have an attorney, which is highly recommended, you should be open to negotiating the terms of the premarital agreement. So you're going to have to give yourself plenty of time. But There's no need to just think that it's an all or nothing proposition. For some people it might be, but for others, there is plenty of room for negotiating. And that's all I have for today's Good to Know Family Law Topics. Be sure to read our blog, look to our website, and look to our YouTube channel for more information on important family law topics.